Welcome to the spot. It's time to ignite. Oh yeah. Operation Hangout. The feeling's just right. Chilling with the crew. We're ready to groove. Opinions flying high. Come on, let's move. Hang out all night long, all night. Laughing and debating, playing our song. Oh yeah. Share your thoughts, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Operation Hangout, let's reach for the sky. Let's fly. Pull up a chair, let's get in the zone. Voices blend and smooth like a funky trombone. Oh yeah. Topics from the heart, making us think. With a twist and a shout, raise up your drink. Cheers. Hang out all night long, all night. Laughing and debating, playing our song. Oh yeah. Share your thoughts, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Operation Hangout, let's reach for the sky. Let's fly. Bring it down, shake it up, feel the beat. With every word we share, the circle's complete. Living loud, thinking proud, that's what we do. Oh yeah. Join the club, come on through, we're waiting for you. Alright. Hang out all night long, all night. Laughing and debating, playing our song. Oh yeah. Share your thoughts, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Operation Hangout, let's reach for the sky. Let's fly. Hang out.
What is going on, everybody? We're back at another stream, another live. You know where you're at. You're at Spartan Institute Network. I am the host, the Spartan, aka Peter. Tonight, we're talking about two major mono versus a mono. Of course, I'm talking Marvel versus DC. These guys have been around long as I can remember. And it's been a debate about this all the time. I've been arguing about this debate for a long time. Marvel is better or DC is better? I am a Marvel person. I am wearing a Marvel shirt. Agents of Shields. You can't get any better than Agents of Shields. You got Spider-Man. You got Captain America. You got Thor. You got Hulk. DC only has Batman and Superman. I'm just saying, shots fired. That's all I'm going to do it. But before we get into it too much, let's bring my people in here. First, from our UK side of the world. You got to do better than that, bro.
I can't be bothered.
Yeah.
How you doing, old man?
Greg, how are we doing, my man? How are you tonight?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. All right. So for second time coming back on the show, we have my good friend, Maria. Oh. How are we doing, young lady?
Lovely looking lady indeed.
I am exhausted. This is my third podcast today. So it's
busy woman.
Yeah. And so I'm exhausted, but I wanted to show up at least for a little bit and come say hi and throw in my 2 cents, I guess.
All right. I'm going to let you have the open monologue as our special guest. Which one are you a fan? A Marvel chick or DC chick?
So I'm going to date myself and also tell on myself. I have never read any of the comics, any of them. I am all just, watching the shows and the movies and stuff. I would have to say I'm definitely Marvel. Definitely Marvel.
Good woman.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. I love it. Doctor Strange is amazing, and I love Iron Man, and yeah, I've always been more partial. I mean, don't get me wrong. And you said Batman and Superman, but you've also got Aquaman, and I love Aquaman. I like the story. I enjoy the story of Aquaman. However,
They
Marvel will always have my heart.
they did a really good job with the first movie. I gotta give them credit and give them the flowers when they belong. The first, excuse me, the first movie was very, very good. The second one, it hasn't worked. But for some reason, DC always has a hard time making good movies. And like everybody knows that right now they're rebooting the whole series. Superman, just now recently came out, and I thought it was a really good movie. I liked how it was. I like Crypto. I don't know if you saw the new one.
Mm-mm.
Crypto is his little dog. He has his cousin's Superman, and it's actually funny. He whistles and he blows right through the castle, the Crystal Castle, and I'm like, whoa, that dog is pretty strong. I don't want that damn thing for that pet.
I've not
But
seen that one.
it just came out, dude. It just came out maybe a few months ago, not too long ago. So
I've
you
seen clips of it, but I've never actually seen it. So
it's actually a pretty good movie. Superman, I thought was a very good series to start this movie genre for superheroes because we had the original 86, I believe, or 85 was the Batman. Great series, great one. My favorite Batman is always going to be the Dark Knight. I think they captured him perfectly because he's very dark and he's like his voice is like, where is he?
Which one
Mate.
was that? Is that
come
Christian?
on, come on,
Christian
come on,
Bale?
come on. That's
Yes.
your favorite. That would be your
Yes.
favorite boyfriend.
Yeah, Christian Bale is amazing. Amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, is it not Bale? Christian, is it? Yeah, Bale, not Slater.
Yeah.
Bale.
No, it's
Christian
Bell.
Bale.
I'm pretty sure here. Let
Yeah.
me double check that.
So I fell in love with him in one of his original shows back in the day, my absolute favorite movie of all time, which is Newsies. And so I am definitely partial to that movie, that Dark Knight as well, just because he's an amazing actor. I think he did really good in there.
Yeah, I mean, the what movie was it? The Purchase, I believe it's called. I can't pronounce it correctly. It was when he was playing a magician, and he had a twin brother, and they were identical twin brothers, so they used to step in each other's shoes. They were dating. They were married to two different women, but they were also married to each other as women. So you don't know who you were talking to, and he did a great job with that movie. But Marvel actually blown up the water. If you really want to do your history correctly, the first Marvel movie was Blade. Blade
Is
was
that Marvel?
yeah, that's Marvel.
Oh, I love
Really? I
Blade.
didn't
Man,
know
that's
that.
bringing me back to childhood there.
Yeah.
Really?
Right, so
How old
I
were
will
you
be
when
dropping
Blade
the link in
came
a
out?
few minutes for everybody to join. Blade, I thought it was a great series. All three movies were awesome. I am more gravitated to the second movie because I really enjoyed that more than the first one. The third
What
one,
year-
go ahead.
What year did the first one come out?
I can tell you right now. Hang on one second.
Wasn't it late 90s? Blade came out.
Say that one more time.
Wasn't it the late
98.
90s when late 90s that
98 it
Blade
came
came out?
Yeah,
So
98.
98, I was 11 years old.
Really?
You're a lot younger than me.
Yeah.
Well,
I
yeah,
remember
Peter's
watching
also
it
younger than
in
me.
I remember watching it in early junior high. So yeah.
I remember and I remember when Blade 2 came out. When Blade 2 came out, it was a big debate about the debate which movie you want to go see first. Was it when you want to go see Blade or Spider-Man? I was like, fuck that. I want to go see Spider-Man. And that was going to Jay, what's up, my man?
Oh yeah. Sorry about that, y'all. What's up?
Nothing much. So we're talking about Blade. You got me talking Blade now. Marvel versus DC. So far, most of us are gravitating towards DC. I mean Marvel. DC has a lot of catching up to do, bro. That's my opinion right now.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about in terms of the live action. Okay, so where DC thrives is the animated verse, and everybody anyone who knows anyone says that a lot, and it's facts
The
because
cartoons, growing up with the
the card.
cartoons, the
So,
Batman cartoons, yeah, nothing can replace
oh
those.
no, no, oh no, Miss. Everything from like the original like Super Friends to where we are now, like Justice League Unlimited. I'll even throw Superman animated series, Batman Beyond, Batman animated series. But those were the main ones. And then as years went on, they started doing. I can't remember what studio got hold of it, but when WB got a hold of them, they started doing their DC animated universe, and then that's why we got things like Young Justice later on. And Young Justice is very opinionated, controversially opinionated, but I liked it because we were trying to get away from the main heroes, and we were trying to get sidekicks more of a story of their own, like a show of their own. Because remember, sidekicks were normally always with the main, like Flash. You got Kid Flash, you got Batman and Robin, Superman, Supergirl, Superboy. You can say the Shazam family, but they're not really sidekicks. They're more like a family. That's the only difference with that. And then Miss Martian became a thing later on, not at the beginning, because all we had was Martian Manhunter. And then you say, oh, that's his niece. So young proteges and things like that. Oh, Zatanna had a lot of people don't know the Zatanna had a dad. He was part of the Justice League and the Young Justice thing, Zatara. So that's why I really like DC does a really good job with their animated characters a lot. Oh, and how can we forget Blue Beetle? That's
That was actually a very good movie. I was surprised.
that was actually okay. I actually watched the movie. It's like 75, close to maybe. I think if I watch it again, personally, because I love the Hispanic culture and it really touches on family, it does a good job in terms of that. But I like it. I just like the idea of the scarab always being like the scary thing that attaches itself to your body, but it's like nailed to your spine, similar to a symbiote. The difference is the symbiote can come off you with enough noise or fire, but really noise though.
So Jay,
So
hang on one second, Greg. If you don't change that, I swear to God, I will fly over there and roundhouse your face off.
Peter is my new what?
I
Oh,
swear, to God, my
wait! Did you watch the new
girlfriend
trailer
will
that came out
throw
today?
punch you. My woman will throw punch you. You don't want to play. Listen, my girlfriend has 3 Indian history. She's half Japanese, half Irish, and half German. You really want to mess with that mix?
Irish German. Oh shit!
Yeah, she was gonna kamikaze you. So,
Oh Christ! He said German.
dude,
Mhm.
we went to a rodeo over the weekend. It's a little funny story. So during the night, all these bugs are coming around and they're dying and everything. I looked around, I'm like, man, babe, I'm like, these bugs are coming causing on your cousin. She goes around, she goes, she goes to me. All right, bad joke.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. So anyway, so has anybody seen the Flash movie? It came out 2023. Any chance?
Yeah, I did, and guess what? It
I
was
didn't.
the worst piece of thing I ever watched.
I'm
The
not
only good
disagreeing with
things,
that,
but hold on, the only good things that are good in that movie, and I will be honest, like an actual opinion, Michael Keaton Batman. We all
that's
will
where I'm
agree with
going.
that. And then I'm gonna say Supergirl, the girl that played Supergirl. Those were the 2 best things that I saw because I forget her name. I think her name is Sasha Callie. I think that's her name. She looked really good for Supergirl. I love that outfit that she had on. It surprised me that she wasn't a blonde, and they were going more with like Henry Cavill hair color. And like those were the 2 best things in the movie for me. Other than that,
I'm not disagreeing. So this is where I want
yeah.
to go with this for really fast. So
Oh, and
anybody
the Batman scene. My bad. The Batman scene with Ben
this is where
Affleck
I'm
and all
going
that.
with
So I'll mention that. That was cool. That was
So
cool.
does anybody remember Batman Beyond any chance?
No.
Right here.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
What was the Batman Beyond one?
Okay, it's beyond is in the future, like 30, 40 years in the future. Bruce Wayne is an old corrupted man. He needs a walker to walk around.
Corrupted.
Yes. I'm sorry?
That's corrupted. How is he corrupted?
I mean broken down, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Decrepit.
Yeah.
Decrepit.
Broken
I got
down.
you, man.
I've
And
heard of it, but I've never seen it or anything
it's a
like that.
very, very good series. Unfortunately, it didn't pick up
Are
as
you on
well
about
as
the
they wanted to.
cartoon where he gets someone else to come in?
I'm sorry?
Are you on about the cartoon where he gets someone else to come in?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the one
McGinnis
you're on about.
was the main character who picked up he ended up stealing the bat suit, and he became the new Batman. So for years and years and years, the people are saying, they're gonna make a Beyond movie, a Batman Beyond movie.
I really want
Now,
to see a Beyond movie with Terry McGinnis and an old Batman. And I always said Michael Keaton could do it because he's old and he can fit that role. He has to be a little bit more grumpier and crankier, but I think he could do it.
exactly. I think now
That would have
that
been perfect.
we saw this in the Flash, him being old, in a different universe, but I can see him coming back and putting the suit back on once again, being in a Batman Beyond Bruce Wayne version. Yes, he needs to be a little grumpier, but
That
I'm
could
okay
be a
with
lot of
that.
fun.
I agree with you. I think it'll be a very exciting movie, to be honest with you.
Only you would
because-
know about being grumpy, Peter.
All right, you gotta make me push the button.
You've reached your limit on talking. Shut the fuck up.
That's wild.
I sure warn you, young lady. This type of show is more shots fired. We have except we don't obviously we have some rules. We don't use race and all that stuff. No politics or anything. But he's a free punch bag. If you want to take shots, please. I'm at it.
No, I'll just watch. It's okay.
He's going, I'm not getting involved with this. Fuck this.
No, so I don't think I ever watched the Batman Beyond, but I remember the original Batman cartoons, and then I used to play the video games, and then I remember the Batman the movie or the TV show when it's like kapow and shoo, and
I remember.
I loved that. I will say, that original line of DC was my favorite, but because I was so young and I was so impressionable and I enjoyed it, but the nowadays Marvel stuff is mostly my favorite, but nothing can ever hold a T to the original DC shows, the Batman shows. I loved those. I really did.
Yeah, Superman, the animated series was really good. It actually ended on a question like, should we trust Superman? But even then, I think they hold Superman in the last season, honestly, because I wish Batman would get something like that to ruin his reputation, to be controlled and things like that. But that's what made Darkseid awesome for me in the original Superman animated series. My favorite line that he said was this though. Oh, you got to see that. It's really good. My favorite line was he said, "I told you, Superman, if you would not be my knight, you would be my pawn." and he literally made him, and he literally made Superman into his pawn and / knight under brainwashed Granny Goodness control, which is kind of crazy to be honest. Which really ruined everything that he stood for. So that's why I tell people to watch the original Superman animated series. It's really, really good. They introduced Flash. They introduced Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner, which is my favorite one, by the way, because he's an actual comic book artist. That's why he's my favorite Green Lantern. That dude has actually the best imagination of everybody. He's a fucking artist. He's actually a fucking artist.
What did you guys think about the actual the Green Lantern movie? Because I was kind of like, I liked it, but it was also super cheesy. I was a mixture in between the two.
I loved it.
Yeah.
The only thing that was good, I think, damn, I even make this comment. Sparta may or may not disagree with me. I think Sinestro was fine before he turns evil. But other than that, everything else is just blah, because Parallax is not an entity that draws fear. Parallax is Hal Jordan, you idiots. They're the same damn person. It's when and everybody knows what I'm talking about. Anybody who's read comic books knows that when Hal Jordan gets a bunch of Green Lantern rings on his finger, he turns into Parallax. They're not a separate entity. I'm like, why'd y'all do that? That was stupid.
Two things.
That was dumb.
One,
Yeah.
I love when in Deadpool he actually makes fun of himself playing that character. He goes,
Yeah.
Oh, dude, he shot himself. He
That
shot
was
himself
fun.
for getting that role. Remember?
Yeah,
At the end of Deadpool 2, which is my favorite cutscene, by the way, when he says, "You're welcome, Canada." I love that.
I love Ryan Reynolds, and I love his role in Deadpool, and especially how he
Same.
had what's his face when he thought he was going to do the Captain America thing, and then instead he turned it flame on. And I don't know if you remember that part. That was hilarious.
You talk
'cause that,
about Wolverine one. Yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah, that's my favorite thing too.
that was so funny. He's like,
The thing is, I told everybody the biggest giveaway for that scene was the fact that Captain America doesn't really cuss style that much. So but Johnny does. Johnny has a foul mouth. So I was like, okay, I think that's Johnny
If
Storm.
you
But,
remember
yeah.
in Avengers, I think it was Age of Ultron, he somebody cursed in. I remember who his character was, and Captain America goes,
Oh, it's Captain
"Watch your mouth."
America. Yeah.
Yeah,
No. It was Iron Man. Iron Man, where he said shit, and then he said language, and the
exactly.
whole movie, Iron Man kept right. He told
Roasting
everybody.
him.
He even said like he said, for God's sake, watch your language. And he was like, that's not going to go anyway anytime soon. And then when they were putting up Thor's hammer, he said, Steve, he said a bad language word. And I was like, you tell everybody that? So, yeah.
So really quick, guys, before we move on, I
Yeah.
don't whoever wants to join, please follow my rules. They're very simple. We're not attacking each other, no language, any of that stuff.
No, we're just having talking fun.
Yeah, we're all fun. But if you do
Yeah.
on the stream, I need a couple of rules to be followed. Number 1 rule: no smoking on camera. 2, no eating on camera. Please dress appropriately. Nobody really want to see that on camera. Mic must be on. Very simple stuff, guys. Nothing crazy.
Right. And tell everybody I'm wearing a tank top shirt with Elsa on it, so I'm dressed appropriately. So she just looks hot on my shirt. That's about it.
Well, how can you be
right now.
arrested for an indecent exposure when you're just showing your face?
Was you going to say something like that?
Indecent exposure.
Yeah, a little small history lesson, really fast, guys. So during 90, the original one came out in 97, but the real one picked up in 96. They made a Marvel versus DC comic. It was a collab, actually. That was a 5 or 6 series. I can't remember how many comic books that came out. And it was literally, they put one Marvel character versus a DC comic, and they hashed at it. And it was a very successful series. Obviously, money got involved, and they never want to do any more on that. But I do see DC eventually flirting with the idea at some point again. And Marvel, let's do a collab again, because collabs make money. If they, I think, work out the right negotiations, I can see them bringing back, or even an anime version, or something like that, Marvel versus DC, and like actually watch it on TV, see them really go at each other.
So I think one thing that they could do, because they've had this fight with the X-Men. Is it Marvel? Is it DC? If they did a crossover episode based on X-Men, I think that would be perfect, to have both Marvel characters and DC characters, since they are in both. I think that would be phenomenal.
The only problem is DC too overpowered. They'd have to you'd have to get for me, I've always said the problem was they're just not strong enough. So they'd have to it had to be like the street tiers against like the mid tiers of like DC to make it a little bit more fair. But because come on, man, Justice League wins every time. That's not even that's a stomp. That's a stomp. And as much as I love Spider-Man, he ain't taking out Aquaman. That's just not happening. Especially movie Aquaman. That's just not happening. That's too OP. There's too much water for him to deal with. And I'm a Spider-Man fanboy, so don't get it twisted. I like Spider-Man. I actually you know what's so funny? I actually brought a Spider-Man book with me to my training session, actually, with me. I actually have it over here. It's a new one. But if they ever did do something like that, well, actually, no, look it up. Somebody did like a fan animation of it was Marvel versus DC, and it's like the villains are on the other side, and they're like teaming up, but they're like setting up the heroes to go against one another.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was just going to ask, when you're talking about Marvel versus DC, are you talking about a collaboration with the two, or are you talking about them actually fighting each other?
I'm talking about them actually fighting. I'm talking about somebody actually did like a fan animation of it, and I don't mean like cartoons. I mean they look like CG, kind of like game graphics. To where and I'll say like PS2 graphics, probably not PS1, because they were because it looks more like a movable actual program, and they did this whole thing where they had like Spider-Man, they had Captain America, they had Wolverine. Of course, you need Wolverine on out there. Superman, Batman. I think Wonder Woman was out there. Deathstroke. I think Vision and Scarlet Witch were there. Because that actually tips the scales in their favor. And I think I can't remember if I saw Doctor Strange, but if they have heroes like that, then they got a chance at actually possibly winning. Because you have you have the Reality Warper, which is Scarlet Witch, and then you have the person the one thing that Superman can't really beat is like a magic user, really. So with Doctor Strange.
So, Peter, are you talking about that that they are in the works of doing that, or they're thinking about doing that
No,
in real life?
in 96, they came out of they collabed together.
They collabed, yeah, and then a
They
comic
did
book.
a comic book series.
Yeah,
So it was a big hit, but obviously when money came in the middle, they didn't continue it because the organization fell through, unfortunately, doing more series. But it was actually a very good series. I remember reading the comic book back in Greece, actually, and it
damn,
was
you were in
very
Greece at the time. Shit.
yeah, and believe it or not, like I was speaking a different language.
He's
And
part Greek.
did you see the Zodiac Nights while you were at it? Shit, they're all in Greece.
But so joking aside, the comic book that was a very good series because they were able to break grounds and make it very fair for each. Okay, this DC character is going to fight this Marvel character, and it was literally the whole book was a whole fight, and eventually only won. But nobody they didn't deleted the character in the end, and like in the end, all right, you go like good fight, and then like handshake, then they walked it off, like became friends in the end. But it was a very very good series. Unfortunately, I don't see DC and Marvel sitting down on the tables and having a conversation. Oh, let's make another game or make a movie or comic book together.
No,
I
that's
don't
not
know
happening.
why. I don't know why. They would make so much money. They would make
They would make much
so
money, miss.
much flipping money to do that.
That's the problem. The money. They're arguing who's going to get what percentage and how much percentage.
Ah, gotcha.
Well, actually, if you guys pay attention, there was actually a book that came out this year. It was Spider-Man and Superman met each other, and Superman got to see how strong Spider-Man actually was when he was lifting tons over his head. And I'm like, yep, he's actually that strong, yo, Spider. Like, but Superman X-rays. I'm like, nah, he's exceeding his limits, man. That's the reason why he's able to do such, what he's doing, and Superman's lying on the floor because there's like kryptonite around them. So he's keeping it from crushing him. That's an actual comic book, what I'm saying, by the way. That's not something I made up. Look it up. You could actually, it actually came out a month ago.
Yeah, dude, there's a lot of different comic books coming out now these days that we're missing people's radars because unfortunately comic books are not on like the hype that they used to be. People are going to the animes and the shows and the movies more, and they're doing some great jobs with some of the stuff. I know when Marvel did Marvel themselves, I think they killed it. Now with Disney owning them, that is a conversation.
Oh, that's a conversation for a different day. Disney is pissing me the hell off.
Oh,
Are they really?
I don't like Disney right now, but
I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Obviously, I have a Star Wars tattoo and a good Marvel fan. Seeing what Disney does, it bores my blood. I have gotten arguments with people about this. I hear people say, "Oh, Disney doing a great job." Like, what are you smoking? If you see what the comic books are doing, you say they've done some good stuff. I'm not denying that. But when I hear, "Oh, we have no material," you have all these books written. What do you mean you have no material? Like, what? I'm scratching my head. I know I'm old, but not senile yet.
Well, you got the grey hairs. You're getting close to it.
hey, I got grays too. All right,
So have I.
grays.
But the only difference between me and Peter, I'm actually a month older than he is.
But with
Mario,
the Marvel stuff, even with this Disney bombing them mostly now, I still think they're doing a better job than DC is. I think we all can kind of agree with that.
I don't know. I'll say maybe not. But I would love to stay and continue having this conversation, but I got to go. Thank you so much for letting me be here. And I look forward to jumping on a few more times in the future. So
definitely we'd love to have you anytime. The floor is always open.
For those who don't know me, I'm a recovery and veteran advocate, and I also host a veteran and first responder podcast. Feel free to check out my page, sliderbabe.com. And I was just on the gray area over there with Peter a couple days ago, and it was fantastic. And so anyways, just glad to be here. You guys are amazing, and I'll talk with you soon.
Definitely.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.
All right. Have a good night. Okay. So I was saying, can we? Let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys think Disney is doing a better job than DC right now?
Personally, I think
Disney,
who was it before? Was it Warner Brothers
Who for what? Marvel.
that owned Marvel?
for DC.
Marvel was owned by Marvel.
All right.
So this is the back story. So Marvel was very struggling back in the early 90s. They were thinking they were going to go bankrupt. So when they were thinking about they were going to go bankrupt, they started selling some of their properties to Fox. That's why, and Sony. That's why Sony owns the right to Spider-Man. And I believe at one time they owned, I might be wrong, I think Fox owned X-Men at one point.
They did. They also owned Wolverine and stuff like that.
Wolverine is part of the X-Men, dude.
Disney.
Wolverine is part of X-Men.
Pardon?
Wolverines are part of the X-Men. That's why they own
Yeah, I
them.
know, but I'm talking about when they decided to do the third Deadpool movie because he said he wouldn't do any of that no more. Do you remember?
Oh, you mean man, what's his name called? Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. He said he wasn't going to do any more Wolverine things anymore.
Oh
But
yeah, to the checkbook came out, and he saw how much money he can make. He's just like, I can come back for another one. He said, "Money talks." Think about
I
it.
don't
Money
think it was
talks.
money talks. I was thinking it was Ryan Reynolds that actually convinced him to do it.
I think it's maybe more the money. Listen, dude. I can turn blue in your face, convince you. This is the best new invention in the world, and all this stuff. But when money says, "Oh, you know what? I'll pay you to use this now," that changes the whole factor.
I'm still waiting for the money, so.
All right, guys. Let's get this guy in. Let's get two guys in here. So let me get the first person in here. So let's get the guy from
Wally,
Planet in
is
here.
he back there?
Oh, God, I've just been blinded.
And of course, our next person, please, ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our president.
I've already got a bad headache.
Anton, how are you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing all right. Doing pretty good.
What about you, Paul? How are you doing tonight?
Just bid double booking. Just hopped off a show and hopped onto this one. So
Same here.
I like to hear that.
Right.
Actually, you just missed it. Our guest from Sunday.
Yeah, I
she
saw
was
that. I
here.
saw while I was signing off. I saw she was on for a minute. So yeah, that was a great interview that we had. So definitely
Yeah,
look forward to
she was saying to earlier. I don't know if you heard. I don't know if you could have heard because I know you were on the show. She actually did 3 podcasts today, back to back to back.
it. Yeah.
Wow.
I give her credit. That girl works.
Damn.
Wow.
What have I told you about?
It's a lot of
Putting
podcasts.
your head down so it wouldn't be so shiny.
Huh?
Talking about me, that's what it is.
Oh, he's talking about his baby oil again.
No, it's coconut oil.
We're all
Yeah,
bald here.
I keep telling him he needs to use sandpaper so it makes it matte.
Nah. I'm not matting it out. No, nah, Craig. Mm-mm.
So, all right, I'll give you the floor for Anton first, and Paul. Marvel DC. What's your opinion on it?
Oh God. Live action, Marvel, animation, DC.
I agree with that. Paul?
Again, I haven't been as up on current product. I can only go based on what I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between the two has, for me, always been philosophy. So I think DC, because there's a lot of their comics that are based on, sort of these mythological sort of godlike beings, it always was like aspirational. Like to be better. Like I grew up watching the Super Friends, right? There's a reason you didn't. There was a reason you didn't have the X-Men. You didn't have Hulk. I mean, you had from the 60s, you had those Marvel superhero bits were basically comic strips, and they did a little animation to make them work. It was very crude animation back then. But really, Super Friends and those kind of things, even the live action stuff that they did back then, the Adventures of Superman, again Wonder Woman. Um, it was basically kind of, and I've talked about this in the last couple of weeks. It was about superheroes being inspirational. Like the whole message with DC was like, yeah, be a good guy or a good woman or what have you. You always felt that the Marvel characters were grittier. They were more human. They were more, leave me alone. So we
Down to
what's that?
earth. I said they were more down to
I don't
earth.
know about down to earth. I just think they were just like they lived more in the gray area.
More relatable.
Like Wolverine,
Oh,
like
yeah.
he didn't care if he was necessarily a good guy or not. He was there because it was a necessity,
Right.
but he wasn't trying to be, drink your milk and cookies. Whereas for the longest time,
No, he wasn't. He was drinking.
DC with Superman. I mean, again, after at the end of every Super Friends episode, they would do those bits like the G.I. Joe stuff where it's like, okay, hey,
yep.
well, you guys shouldn't lie. You guys really
Yeah.
need to know how to, it's not good to lie. And if you just be honest, things will be better for you. And up and away. And Superman would go. And so it was that kind of
Right.
thing. The Marvel universe you always thought was harder. The characters were more complex. Tony Stark, I mean, there were comics made about his battles with alcoholism, for example. You know what I mean?
Yes.
A lot.
So you would never see that again from my limited watching and reading of the stuff. I'm not as in as you guys are, but there was always something about showing the superhero as that. And I know I was making a comment a couple weeks ago that me and Wally got into a little bit about now, like where's the superhero now? It's like the superhero. In fact, I literally just saw He-Man, and that's a whole nother discussion on what a hero is, what a superhero is, and all this kind of stuff. But it's like now all the superheroes are being brought down to being to Earth or brought down to human level. But the superheroes that I grew up on, which were mostly the DC ones, they wanted us to come up. I mean, the whole thing, if you remember Superman 1978, the movie, right? The speech from Jor-El was about, hey, they can be great people, Kal-El. They wish to be. All they need is the light to show the way. For this reason of all, I'm sent him you, my only son. It was a very messianic type of vibe. Like, be an inspiration so that humans would raise their level. But in the last Superman, the Superman movie that came out last year, Jor-El was like, nah, that speech was broken up. They were like, look, you need to conquer this world, have as many babies as you can and repopulate the planet Krypton. Take the planet over.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, so we've been growing up for 50 years, or at least for me, 50 years with this idea of who Superman was or who the Kryptonians were or whatever, or who Jor-El was. They just threw that out the window. And they said,
they did.
Nah. He's like, look, subdue this planet, make them subject to you, get as many women pregnant as you possibly can, and repopulate the earth. Be fruitful and multiply. That was
I tried that. I tried impregnating as many women.
People were like, what? And then the speech at the end, where Superman was saying, look, I am just as human as everybody else. I'm like, no. I don't want you to be human. Humans are messed up. If you read your news today, human beings are messed up. I don't want you to be human. I want you to be better than us and give us something to aspire to do good and do good things. So call me old fashioned, call me, whatever. But that's kind of how I see it. And see, like, even with the DC stuff, they tend to be going to more of this kind of flawed characters in the shows. Even in the last the Superman movie. Hey, what's up, Braxton? The Green Lantern.
Braxton
in that movie. I mean, he wasn't nice. He was basically
he
wasn't, but
Ryan Reynolds
I do agree with that.
Movie.
He was, but he wasn't that. I'm saying he wasn't Hal
No,
Jordan
he was talking about the Green Lantern in
in
the
the
Superman
Superman
movie,
2025.
the new one.
Oh, Guy Gardner.
Yeah, not that Ryan
Yeah.
Reynolds crap.
But
I'm
I'm
talking
just
about something
saying,
else.
but
Guy
he was
Gardner. That's
so.
Guy Gardner.
Yeah.
He's that way. He's always
I
been that
understand
way.
He's
that,
an
but again,
asshole.
I
That's
grew
the
up
point.
on the Hal Jordan Green Lantern.
Hal
All
Jordan
those
and
guys were on the same
John
level.
Stewart.
They want
Yeah.
the same things: peace and humanity, and protect the earth, and all this kind of stuff. The guy would rather be drinking.
Now, I'll give you a good example on your point. Aquaman. He was a biker, drunk half the times, and he was starting fights. That was the opposite what we're used to seeing from the comic books and the animation series. Aquaman
Yeah.
was never like that. He was like a peacemaker.
Yeah. So to me, that's the
Well,
vibe of comics in general.
the thing is, they start them off very low, and then they have to become what they are, like the reluctant heroes. What that is. But I want to speak to what Mr. Bennett said for Superman because I had this conversation a long time ago, and I think it's somewhere on YouTube if I ever did talk about it or recorded it. I've always said this. That's where everybody's argument falls apart, like literally, because I actually didn't like that in that movie where like Jor would never ever tell him that. I'm like, that's some BS. I did not like James Gunn doing that shit because that pissed me off. The thing is, he is loved by his real dad and his human parents. And Jor and his mom would never tell him to do that shit. They would tell him to go to a place to where you are loved and to a place where you are loved and where you can do the most good. When you do the most good there. But let me say this: Superman has never been the character to ever act realistically. Want to know why? Real people, real freaking people, they're too damn jaded, they're too damn selfish, they're too damn petty, they're too damn cynical, they're too crazy. He's never acted realistically. He's not supposed to. If you read any of his books, he's not supposed to. And I'm gonna say this because I'm gonna go to the nearest thing that everybody can use, and not books, but I'm gonna go to media. I'm gonna go to the media. The shit is like I said because when they cover all that territory about him being human, all that stuff. The shit's in the first two Donner Superman movies. The shit's in Justice League. Shit's in Smallville. And the shit's in Lois and Clark for fuck's sake. And I watched that. Lois and Clark, the fucking soap opera. Where they touched who Clark Kent is, Superman is, everything. And I'm like I said, and I'm gonna say this, if this has been covered so many other times, even with the Man of Steel one, because I didn't like I think Zack Snyder doesn't get that right until he does the Snyder cut where he does Superman actually correctly. But he's supposed to be he's supposed to be the Boy Scout. He's somebody you aspire to be. Him and Captain America. Well, I'll say this: Superman is what you want, is the epitome of what you want to be. An alien trying to do good is of what he is. He thinks humanity can be so much better than what they are. Like I want them to prove what I know, what is there. But Captain America has been an embodiment of an American soldier that likes fighting for his country, but he's the embodiment of everything good. Now you can say he's a Boy Scout, but he's a soldier for the military, and he just wants to say he's all about freedom, all of the things that we build himself on. Even though I know people have their reservations about Captain America, but he is a really good dude. He says, "I don't like bullies. I don't like anybody picking on the weak." Right there is your introduction to a great character for him to grow. So what Mr. Bennett said about like the Superman in that one and what his parents say, I'm like, yo, they jacked that up. I think what James Gunn is showing them is that you don't need like your real parents may be trash, but your human parents were just better. Which I don't like that message. I can get the message behind that, like who adopts you, takes care of you, they're like really good people because I resonate with that personally. But with Superman, he's loved by both of them.
But
Not
that's
one.
the thing. You make the humans the hero, right? It was the Kents that were the heroes, but it was the elves that were the villains, essentially, right? And I'm just saying, but that's where I see comics in general, everything's going towards that. But I'm saying, if I got to watch somebody be as jacked up as I am, as dysfunctional as I am, I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, that's not inspiring. Like, I want to come out like entertained, but I want to see. I still believe in. I'm like I never got into the Attitude Era, guys. I still believe in heels and faces in wrestling. I'm a wrestling fan. I'm not a sports entertainment fan.
Okay,
I like wrestling.
I got you.
And you had definite heels and you had definite faces. And the face, yeah, it might have took them a while to get over the heels. You know, the Four Horsemen, they were formidable. You had to get them, but when Dusty or one of those other guys, the Road Warriors, whatever it is, whenever they beat the Horsemen, it was like yes, because again, it was like good overcoming evil. I'm still binary like that, but I realized that the comics book space has gotten a lot more complicated. And not right now, you don't see as much difference. But the classics that I grew up on, the 70s and the 80s, DC had a very distinct lane that they were in. And that's why I think they got a lot more TV coverage. That's why they had their Saturday morning cartoon shows and all those things that came with it. But the Marvel stuff, a little had to come later. I think people had to almost mature to get to where Marvel, especially the X-Men. You had to like I didn't really.
The
I didn't even
Incredible Hulk
peep
too.
X-Men
That was a show
until
too.
well, even the Hulk that we got on TV. Now, look, I love the lot Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno back in the day. I love that show,
Mhm.
but again, the show was more so about Bill Bixby, and the Hulk was like his other half. You know what I mean? But it was a Bill
Right.
Bixby show. You rooted for Bill Bixby. The scene that my wife cried at the end of every Incredible Hulk episode because of that piano at the
Oh,
end of the
damn.
movie, at the end of every episode. Dun, 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 dun.
She did cry?
So,
Oh
yeah,
God,
that's
man, you
what
got
I'm
a great
saying.
wife, my
But
man.
that's the thing.
She
It was
appreciates art.
It was, in fact, that was the theme of the show. It was about the lonely man. In fact, the name of that song is called "The Lonely Man." He's by himself. You wish that he gets into another space next week. He gets in situations. All he wants to do is do good, but he's always finding himself in situations with some bad guys. Like, leave him alone. And that's why that famous line: "Please don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry."
Yeah. You won't let me when I'm angry. And that's the thing with some of these characters. I think all these characters in Marvel, I think they're more, to me, I know you may not agree with what I'm saying, but I think they are more grounded in a little bit of reality because they're actually, I think they're humans first, and then experimentation is what changed them a little bit different. For example, Wolverine was not always an angry dude. He was just a dude that wanted to be left alone, similar to the Hulk. Like he was just going around like traveling the world and things like that. It's just that because I've always told people, what is it? The second origin story. So when we was first introduced, he was a weapon that was used to combat the Hulk, Department H. That's what he was originally introduced as. Because that's the first. I believe it was either Dan Slott or Chris Claremont. That was his name. Chris Claremont wrote the character, and then he said, "Oh, like no. Wolverine is this character that had a lot of pain." And I think the movies do a really good job of showing, like, I'm building up over the years of like him going through what he goes through. Is like, yeah, I may be able to heal and do things like this, but I still feel everything that hits me, even memory and trauma. Hence why his healing factor does protect him from trying to remember certain things because it's so traumatic. So that kind of heals that in that regards. But he's more, like I said, they always call him, like I said, Ronin without a master, the lone wolf. He's the loner of the X-Men, pretty much. He's the lone wolf of the X-Men, literally. That's why he's so relented to work with Cyclops, because he's gonna take orders from freaking Scout, from Scout Master Blue. Anybody watches that's what he calls him in the old anime cartoon. And like he'll do things like that. But like, all these characters like have some trauma or some to them. Spider-Man can't get over the death of his Uncle Ben, similar to Batman. The difference is that's what. But Spider-Man goes around with a smile to save people every day. So that's the only difference right there. He's always making
I was really
jokes.
about the same thing.
But yeah.
Spider-Man, again, in my day, or me and Anton's day, there's a reason why Spider-Man was probably the most popular, because again, he was for the most part, a jovial soul.
He was a kid.
He wasn't this angry, pent up, got all this stuff or whatever. He was, like I said, he was cracking. He was like I said, he was a kid. And I think that's why he
Mhm.
was, attracted to it. So I think for the longest time, Spider-Man might have been like the number one, certainly in top 5 of
Yeah.
all comic book heroes, but
He
certainly
was
on
top
the
5.
Marvel
I agree with you.
side, because he wasn't just, he had a bad incident that made him, but on a comic to comic basis,
He was
he was
just a
cracking
kid.
jokes, having fun, living life, whatever, and not going to that rageful, vengeful side of things. He wasn't vengeful. I've
Exactly.
seen some Marvel characters; they're like, they don't care, man.
Like
I'm,
he was.
I'm taking everybody.
Moon Knight don't
Ooh,
care.
yes. Yeah. The,
Moon Knight is a character with split personality disorder. No, dissociative identity
Right.
disorder. And I'll be honest, I think the live action did a great
Yeah.
job of giving that character some
Mhm.
love, of like Mark Spector, Stefan, and Jake Lockley. That's one of my favorite characters because it shows, like I said, they all have something bad. Like honestly, to know that his mother was doing that to her son, and then he created a person, and then a personality formed to protect him. The thing that his mother wasn't actually all that bad, but you actually finds the truth that she is that bad, and the father was only. Well, I'm not gonna say the father was all the way good, but he did somewhat look out for his son, whatever, the best that he could, and it was just, it's like stories like that you personally relate to more in real life, and I think it's more about mental health and all that and all those things. Luke Cage, for example, one of my favorite characters. Luke Cage was a cop prior, got framed, got put in jail, got experimented on. Well, almost died from the experiments that were from the fights in jail. Got put. Well, he called it quote unquote a fish tank. Literally came out with powers. Broke out of prison, changed his name, became Luke Cage. Met an Asian, no, not an Asian. Made a white dude with Asian flair called Iron Fist, Danny Rand. They become the heroes for hire, which is one of my favorite parents. Which, by the way, I hope they do that shit like they're supposed to, because I love Mike Coulter and freaking Finney Jones together on set together. They're amazing. But they do things like that to pair, because that's one of my favorite parents in comics. But what I'm saying is, you have all these characters as part. I want to let you go too, obviously. But what we're saying is, all these characters start somewhere, and then they have a trauma story, and then they become heroes later on. Their journey is to become that hero. Now, Luke Cage is a hero for hire, but remember, he ends up marrying Jessica Jones. They have a daughter together. That's the only. And you know what's so funny? That's the full legit pairing that they never did a rewrite or what did they call that? A retcon on. It still continues to this day. Like, yeah, Daniel Cage is the daughter of Jessica and Luke, and what? Iron Fist is together with Misty Knight, a woman that actually liked him for his fucking.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Hey, ain't that crazy? They're both in interracial relationships, and nobody bitches about that. And I don't give a damn.
It's the reality.
It's
a reality that people could understand. The one thing, back to what you were saying about Moon Knight, the one thing I like about him, whatever personality he was, when he went into costume, it reflected his personality.
It would change.
He's in a whole white suit with the mask and the gloves and everything else.
It looks like Deadpool with a white suit, but I like it though, with the moon on his head though, and his eyes are glowing too. I think that's the only distinction. His eyes are actually glowing white. Literally,
one personality, he's in that suit and tie and the vest. The next guy,
did you like the series?
Moon Knight? It was better than I expected.
It was better. It was a slow start, but I would say this: episode 1 is a slow start, but when he gets to 2 and 3 is when it picks up. And then I'm like, okay, I see what they did.
So,
okay.
Here's
and then I gave it a solid 8.
I don't think it was a bad series, but
I give it between 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I gave it an 8.
I'll give it a solid 8
That's
myself.
what I give it.
Again, it was a good series, but it wasn't my cup of tea. You know what I'm saying? I prefer something else personally.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. There are a bunch of different, but one thing I do want to mention to the panel, and mostly for Anton and Paul, the superhero that you guys grew up on has evolved and changed over the years to the point now you need to have a bad beginning to become the ultimate superhero.
You need that motivation.
Example, like Iron Man, he's an alcoholic, playboy, millionaire, all this stuff, and then he switches the script. He doesn't drink anymore. He's trying to help people up and everything, and that's why.
Is that true? See, I'm not.
No, he didn't become an alcoholic.
No, I agree that a lot of these superheroes come from like a bad place. That's how they start. Like either someone died, or like I said, Peter Parker, someone dies or whatever. I'm saying just as the character in their role as the character. Like Iron Man's alcoholism, he was already Iron Man at that point.
Right.
He's went through periods of depression or what have you. He's a very, dark character just going around. It's almost like the whole, he's almost like Batman in the sense that, like he's Bruce Wayne during the day. He's the playboy, billionaire, philanthropist, or whatever his title is, but he's got some demons. And I'm saying in the DC world, you were less likely to see these demons that they were dealing with. Trauma. The trauma might have got him started, but it wasn't a part of the storyline going forward. And I'm seeing now the trauma goes with the superhero into real life situations. It could be a PTSD thing. It could be a flashback kind of thing. It could be a moral crisis kind of situation, or would it get compromised somehow? But it's like it's kind of baked in. Like I said, so it's hard to it's different than what I certainly grew up on. But yeah, but most of these superheroes, there's something that happens to them that makes them heroes. But again, like Peter Parker said, with great power
comes great
responsibility. And that governs kind of everything else that goes forward.
I think one of the things you said, Paul, also, sometimes like you don't realize how sometimes the trauma can be their greatest power. And a perfect example in DC was, I think, called the Spectrum Wars, where every character in the DC universe wore a power ring. And Batman said, for some reason, this yellow ring came to me. And it said, I know how to exhibit great fear against my enemies. That was the series, and I think it was also led into it was in Blackest Night. Every character in the DC universe had to wear a power ring. They all had to declare sides.
You're talking about the Blackest Night thing where they wore like what Flash had like the freaking Blue Lantern ring and shit. Yo, that was a good comic. I agree with you.
That was fire. Great because I loved it because it took all the characters in the universe and put them in places no one thought was possible.
Yep, and they had to battle Necron, which was like the Black Lantern. No, he was the entity of the Black entity,
Necron was
literally.
The entity, and Black Hand was the leader of the Black Lanterns. That was Death. And the thing was, it showed no matter which power spectrum you saw in the colors, all must exist or none will exist. If you wipe out one, you wipe out all. So they all had to learn to coexist within the universe because they all coincide with one another in some way, shape, or form. Now, the thing is, and I remember Gathnet, people forget, Gathnet was one of the Guardians.
Yep.
Green Lanterns. And he kept trying to push a new force, a new type of power that will work with the Green Lanterns. And Ali Opsa was like, this is not going to work. Why are you still on this? It's not going to work. It got to the point, that's how Gathnet was literally expelled from the Guardians. And I think Saeed joined him. And that's how they became the Blue Lanterns. That's how the Blue Lantern Corps started. Because each color represents a certain
emotion and spectrum. So
exactly. It's because the green power ring represents willpower, courage, bravery. Gathnik and Saeed kept saying, let's start another color spectrum that can work with willpower.
And that was blue.
And that was blue.
Yeah, the blue. Oh, the blue one, which is probably the strongest one, but which remember it had its own it wasn't just drawbacks. I'm talking about like its own what are you conditions? That's what I was looking for. It has its own conditions. Like you need a Green Lantern to be around to use it. And it's so powerful that you do need that around there. That's kind of what limits their abilities. But when you have like, they're more like the Jedi of the Lantern Corps. Like Saint Walker is the first Blue Lantern. Mm-hmm. And everybody knows that because he's like the first one introduced, literally. And then you have like the Elephant and the other characters in Flash. And
I think Brother Wraith And the thing was,
Yeah.
people didn't realize when you put a Blue Lantern and a Green Lantern together, yes, the Blue Lantern can do his power, can still wield his or her power ring,
Right.
but it boosts the power
Of a Green Lantern too.
to exceptional levels that no one thought possible. Hope
Right.
and will.
Right. And no, keep going.
Now, and that's why it was always important, and what Blackest Night explained to a lot of people, all must exist or none will exist. If you wipe out one color spectrum, you literally wipe out the rest at the same time.
All of them.
They all have to coexist in some way, shape, or form. That's why there's always at least one of each color spectrum wearing their ring. And even
the Green Lantern show showed that too, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew what it was, but like when they did that like CG looking, well, no, it wasn't CG, it was like a 3D looking model.
Yeah.
They did that whole show, and I realized they introduced like the Star Sapphires, the Red Lanterns, Larfleeze, which is the orange, the only orange lantern, because there can only be one for that actual freaking core. And then Sinestro's core, which by the way, I actually like Emerald Knights and Green Lantern First Flight because they do a good job representing the Yellow Lantern. But I like the story more so of Atrocitus telling him, let me tell you exactly what will happen, like literally in the future. Once like he says, when Sinestro finds the yellow ring, literally it'll correct him, and then it's gonna turn him like literally, it's gonna turn him against the Yellow Lanterns, and like his Yellow Lantern Corps would dismantle the whole Green Lantern power.
Yeah.
Yep, and the Guardians will be without their soldiers. Literally, even the best of them, like Hal Jordan, will get killed, and it literally shows that antithesis of like what's supposed to happen. But it's just like more so a prophecy.
He's thinking, I don't believe in, like,
I don't believe in no, he didn't believe this, and he says I don't believe in no. Sinestro didn't believe in destiny more so, but
right.
Abin Sur, his friend, did is what it
and
is.
He said, You're not
where he says, I know my friend is destined for great things. Because he said you took a Green Lantern's willpower and let it go somewhere it would never let him go. So yeah, but at this time in that movie, he was a good dude. He was like, now granted, I won't lie, he's kind of brash with some of his attacks, but he's still doing like he's more like a military general actually with how he was moving in that movie. He hadn't turned evil yet, but he was still helping Hal, helping everybody, and even his own story where how he helped Abin, like he wasn't evil then at all.
Right.
It isn't until he gets the Yellow Lantern does that actually corrupt and change his mind. Where because characters like they play with his character a lot, where either he was always this way, or when he was a Lantern, and then or he got the Yellow Lantern ring that took him over, and then the power just got power hungry after that.
I think
and I'm like, fuck that.
Like,
so yeah.
Black Adam. What do you guys think about that movie?
Mr. Bennett, what's your thoughts?
I thought it was kind of average, but again, they did get me.
Exactly.
They got me hyped at the end when Superman
versus
up.
Black Adam.
And then as soon as they do that, they pull the DCEU. So I'm like, I can't win.
That's a problem.
I thought it was an average movie. But that scene at the end, I was in the theater. Everybody lost their stuff, and we're like, "Oh, this is where we're going." They even updated the Superman uniform because, again, a lot of people were complaining about the uniform from the Man of Steel was a little bit colors were too muted. He had the classic uniform. They played the classic Superman theme, the dun 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 dun. I mean, they put so it was like we were like, "Oh snap!"
Didn't they use the old recordings of Marlon Brando playing Jor-El?
I believe so, if I'm not mistaken.
When he was at the
not
fortress.
wait, talk about not in Black.
No. I'm talking about Man of Steel.
Yes,
No.
yes, the Man of Steel.
No,
They did. Yeah, they did.
When you heard the voice of Jor-El,
no, that was Russell Crowe.
Oh, that was Russell Crowe. Yeah. Russell Crowe. He's right.
You're talking about Superman Returns. They used the original Jor-El footage. Yeah. Because that was supposed to be a direct sequel to Superman the movie or Superman 2 or whatever it was. So I think that was so they're definitely working within a continuity there, and they were keeping that continuity going. But I mean, that there had me excited. That was almost like worth The 85 90% of the movie was like okay. That 5 minutes at the end or whatever, that was like that had me going. And then they pulled it, and then they pulled the plug, and that was it. So we didn't get because I thought the Rock did a pretty decent job as Black Adam. I appreciated the I wasn't a fan. I guess that was not it's not the Justice League, but it's the Justice League. Yeah, just something League of America.
Justice Society. That's what it was.
Justice Society. Yeah, JSA. Yeah, Society.
Yeah, but they were a weaker version. They didn't use any of the classic characters or anything like that. And the thing is, I think the issue we had was I like the actor who plays Hawkman. I like him, but I don't like his Hawkman because the thing is, Hawkman doesn't have wings like that. They're actually a part of his body.
Right.
Remember, Thanagarians are aliens.
Yeah.
They don't have mechanical freaking wings. You're thinking of Archangel. He's the only one that has that after that. Well, after his wings get broken, they become mechanical and metal.
Yeah, because of Apocalypse.
Yeah, because of Apocalypse. But once they did that, I was like, come on, guys, try to do the original. I think Dr. Fate looked cool, but they got to nerf the most OP dude in the whole damn movie, which is kind of crazy. Because he did look cool. It was actually cool to see him actually a live action Dr. Fate look really cool. And I'm like, all right, Pierce Bronson, you look pretty cool. I won't lie.
Here's my thing with DC.
Man.
DC does a great job with TV shows, like the Arrow, for example. I think it was a great show.
Yeah.
Oh, Arrow. He's pretty much Batman, though. I won't say that he is pretty much Batman.
Yeah.
Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah.
Arrow is
No,
not that.
Green
Arrow is not that dark. He's more of a You know what's so funny? I find it funny that both, because even Marvel did this, and I'm surprised they did this. Hawkeye's actually the dark Archer. Green Arrow is the funny one, and if you watch the Smallville Green Arrow, that is more accurate because he's the more accurate version because he's having fun. He may have a more voice modulator his voice, and he's still cool, but he's still telling jokes and he's more fun.
That's true.
I think that's James Hartley. What's his name? James Hartley. That's his name that played that one. Yeah,
I think so.
He's more of a playful character. If you watch Justice League Unlimited, dude, he's shooting the punt like, dude, the freaking what was that? The boxing glove with the arrow and shit.
Yes.
Yeah. So you know what I'm saying? Like he does all that, and he's like, he's more of a jokester.
And he has all the clips too. Like every time you say something to him, he always has a comeback. Like. Really?
Exactly. And now, I'm not gonna say I didn't like what the because I think Sparta likes this the Oliver Queen that we got. I'll say this. I didn't say I didn't like it because I did like it.
Oh,
the thing is he's too much like Batman. That's the problem. Too much like Batman. Oliver Queen is not that dark of is not that broody of a freaking character. He's not at all. And the island, and I'll say this, after he comes out from the island, he does learn, like, if they did like the period, like, it took me 5 years, but I finally go over that trauma. Now I'm more happy. I'm taking more jokes and things like that. But he was Batman 100% of the time. The only time he lightens up is when they start doing the Flash crossovers where they try to be silly. And I actually like that, the tutelage of him and Flash. I like that a lot. Yeah. I think they did a good job with that. Because I'm like, okay, so you managed to make Flash and Green Arrow good friends. I like that.
Well, my point I was trying to get to is I feel like DC does better with shows and anime versus movies. And Marvel does a decent job with the shows, but not great. Because Agent Shield was a pretty decent show, but it wasn't the great show, and we respect it. The anime series, they do an okay job with them. Depends, what year we're talking about. But I feel, like I said, DC does better in shows and anime versus movies. And like you see, every time they go somewhere, they always pull the plug somehow. Like they have, I know they did Justice League Snyder's Cut. Man, that movie was way too long for anybody.
It was long. No, hold on. My thing is, it was way too long, but they did a great job because I tell people it's 4 hours, but they cover a lot of story. They cover a lot of character with Cyborg. Things you got in the theatrical release was trash compared to what you got with the Snyder Cut, and because you were undermining Zack Snyder's actual like development and his filming cinematography, When I watched the side, I'm like, dude, why the hell didn't we get this in the movie? I can sit 4 hours to watch this damn thing. If I can,
My wife
I'll be
told me.
real. Well, hold on. If we can watch Lord of the Rings, if you can watch Lord of the Rings, you can sit down and watch that. Especially if you're gonna make a Justice League movie, you gotta like let's keep it real, bro. It can't be an hour and 33 minutes, bro.
You gotta be detailed.
We gotta have like some story buildup, especially if they were setting up for Apocalypse or Part 2. That thing needs to be at least 2-something hours.
Because
at
you
least
want to make sure you have everything detailed and laid out. You want to see everything laid out and then see it all come together.
My friend walked out watching the Cider Cut. He became a Cyborg fan. He's like, bro, why the hell was none of this in the damn theater when I saw this, bro? I actually like Cyborg as the character. Ray Fisher did a great job. The dude that played his dad did a great job making him be that asshole damn dad, like not going to his football games. Oh, and by the way, the football cinematography when he was playing football, I fucking love that shit.
Yeah.
That Zack Snyder knows what he's doing. Like when it comes to cinematography, like trying to capture some emotion, he did a good job with the Amazonians versus Steppenwolf. That's a great scene in the freaking movie. He did a great job with the whole reluctant Aquaman scenes, like literally where like he comes in to get his mom's trident and things like that, and talks to freaking Willem Dafoe's character of what's his name? I forget his
Volko, I think.
Volko and things like that. Like he does like really good things, like really good scenes of that. And leading and also leading up to like the final battle when Superman comes out with his black suit. I'm like, thank you. That's what the fuck we wanted to see, bro. I wanted to see that black suit. That black suit looked good, bro. Looked good. So yes, it was too long. I will agree with you there, but it was a much better freaking movie. I gave that thing an 8.
I'm not disagreeing it was a better movie. What my point is trying to get to is DC does not make great movies, and when they start getting
they don't commit to anything. I think I agree with you there. They don't commit to anything.
That is true.
And did they have the phasing? Like I know what the brothers in Marvel, the guys,
Russo brothers,
the Russo brothers.
They had like again, it's phases, right? So it's like now. Having said that, they haven't since Endgame. The only movie I've really liked for Marvel since Endgame, and a lot of people didn't like the movie, but I love Captain America with the brother in it.
Brave New World?
Brave New I love that movie. I've seen it 4 times, and I loved it. You know what I mean? So, but I haven't seen them really nail one. Like the Endgame was like the apex. Right. And I know they tried to go on with what was the one with the Eternals and
the Eternals.
Yeah. The Eternals one, like
phase, right? But nothing's. I mean, outside of the Spider-Man movies, I'll give the Spider-Man movies. That's the only thing that's kind of holding it together, in my view.
All right.
So I agree with you mostly, Peter, that DC certainly hasn't met the standard that the Russo brothers had, but that was only up until Endgame. Since then, good Marvel movies have been few and far between since Endgame.
All right, Paul, how about
all right, Paul. Disney took over. Ever since Disney took over, it has gone to shits.
No. They went woke. That's the problem. And then when they stopped going woke and realized we're not doing this bullshit no more, then they decided, okay, we're gonna do a reboot. So that's what Avengers Doomsday is gonna be about mostly. And hence why Tom Holland will be working like his last 3 movies. He's gone after this. Because also with his statements about what he wants to do in his life, and also he's trying to build a family with Zendaya, so that's what he's trying to do. But it's leading to a reboot. I don't mind that particularly, but that's what's going to be happening. And when it came to one of y'all said something really important, and with DC and their movies particularly, like I said, they can never commit to anything. The problem is they kept pulling the plug last minute. And I'm like, dude, when they got James Gunn, I'm like, and then when he's only in for like 3 years, let's get rid of him. I'm like, yo, will you I'm sorry. Will you motherfuckers just commit to something and let the man do his job? Right. He gave us Creature Commandos. I like Creature Commandos. That was an animated series he gave me, which is pretty dark, but I freaking love the living hell out of it. It's freaking hilarious. He gave us that. He gave us freaking Superman. He did that Superman. That Superman. It has some issues with it, but I do enjoy the very end of it. I do enjoy it. And the thing is, you haven't let the man let him get his feet wet so we can get everything. We're getting a Batman Part 2 with fucking Robert Pattinson, and I'm looking forward to that because they're gonna do the quarter-hour story, literally. So and Robert Pattinson played a really good job on that. And I'll be honest, that's a long movie, but it's a detective Batman movie, which was well received. The only thing they said was like it was a little too long. That's about the only thing. Other than that, I freaking enjoyed it. He felt like a goddamn detective.
To be honest with you, I didn't like that Batman. The Dark Knight is always gonna have a special place in my heart. I think that was the best
No. I understand that, but
understandable.
I understand that because Joker. But for me, I always look back at that movie. Christian Bale is secondary in that movie. I like his performance, but Joker runs that whole film. If I took Joker out, y'all wouldn't give it the grade y'all gave it, and that's facts. Because Heath Ledger, like, to me, when I watch it over again, it is his movie. It is not Christian Bale's movie at all. That man is owning every scene he's in, and every scene I laugh. Wherever he has his head outside the freaking police door like a dog, that's funny to me. I'm like that man is controlling the whole film for me. I do agree, it's better. I do agree.
Heath Ledger his flowers. Rest in peace to him. I'll give him his flowers when he did the Joker in The Dark Knight. Yeah. But I'm always going to be fond of Jack Nicholson as the Joker in Batman 89 with Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton Batman?
Yeah.
Yeah, when he had that long gun and shot the black plane, that's hilarious. I couldn't believe that.
But the one
that's
thing
silly.
I remember when the movie came out. I still remember seeing it when it came out in theaters back in 89. The one part that really got everyone hyped up is when he was flying the Batwing. And when he brought her and it silhouetted the logo on the moon, everybody stood up and got loud.
Yeah.
Everybody. Yeah. That was like, yes, that is Batman right there. That's how you do it. So it was.
I got credit. DC was credit's due. Without DC,
you got to
Superman and Batman, we wouldn't have this superhero genre right now. They
I agree. Passed off. Marvel got better at it, So again, it's about eras. But it's interesting you mentioned Batman. Now, me and Anton were older, but you guys might reference it.
35 today. Remember?
Happy birthday!
Oh, that's right. Happy birthday, dude.
Happy birthday,
appreciate it. So I'm getting there, but I'm 4 years away from being 40.
See,
no, 5.
It's okay when you look like this. Trust me.
When you start looking like this, we can talk. When you have this gray hair, we can talk.
All right, man. All right. Seniority.
So I talked about that framing in the 70s, but it really for DC, it goes back much earlier. Because again, really in the 40s, the 50s, DC again dominated. You had the Batman serials that were in the 40s, the radio shows, whatnot. You had Superman, the animated came out in the 30s, 1938. The famous Superman animated that came out. You had Superman with George Reeves.
Yeah,
man, reporter jumps tall buildings in a single bound. It's a bird, it's a plane. That was there, and then you had, for better for worse, you had the 1960s Batman, Batman and Robin,
Batman.
Adam. It's stamped on you. Marvel was nowhere
Adam West.
down. I think Marvel was the only thing that was going on in '66 was again the Marvel superhero show. That was the only thing. And again, it was a very crude animated show, but that was the one that had Iron Man. Tony Stark makes you feel he's a cool exec with a heart of steel and iron. All those
Iron Man.
Man is stronger than a whale. He can swim anywhere. He can breathe underwater and go flying through the air. I mean, it's that was all that Marvel had going on. So
right.
DC.
We forgot about the Wonder Twins. I forgot about that. That was a Super Friends. Nobody brings them up.
So think about it. DC owned the television and movie space, you could argue, for almost 50 years.
That's true.
Starting in
they were running
The 40s, the 50s with the television shows, that was all DC. The
Superman
Wonder
was
Woman
back
live
in
action too. They had live
Wonder
action.
Woman came out. Now I know you had Hulk out. You had Hulk. You had a very small. Again, this is like cult territory. The Spider-Man TV show in 1978. It only ran one season.
Damn,
Jay, if
that's
you
old.
haven't seen it,
horrible.
Spider-Man 1978. It was on CBS.
I
And
remember
you
watching
even
it
had a
first back.
Captain America with Red Brown as Captain America.
That was horrible.
Also
too.
in that same night, that late 70s run.
Yeah,
But the
actually,
shows
I wasn't
that
born, so I didn't
dominated,
see it. But you, yeah.
the
So
shows
I
that
figured what it looks
dominated,
like.
Wonder Woman, absolutely. The Superman movie that came out in 78, absolutely. So think about, so from the 30s all the way up to like 1980, you had DC dominating.
Yep.
But in the night, just like anything else, I think that the public got tired, just like with wrestling. I think they got tired of the kayfabe. They got tired of the goody two shoes. And I think just as opinions changed in the 90s, people wanted grittier characters. That's why, again, the X-Men became really popular, even though their stuff came out in the 70s. They had a very loyal, devoted following. But when X-Men came out, the animated series came out in 92, then that's what changed a lot of, people's perceptions. They wanted more complexity. They wanted darker. They wanted, because the Batman that we saw in 89, that was a big departure from the Batman we all grew up with. It's not to say that the OG comic book fans, we know about the darker Batman comics back in the day, the 1940s, that grim Gotham City, we knew about that. But the Silver Age, when Batman was on a cereal box and he had to smile, and again, the Adam West, we had to reconnect and see that Batman had this darker side to him. We didn't know that until The Killing Joke came out.
Wait, yeah, that's true. But Paul, also remember in the old series from the 60s, Adam West, Burt Ward, Cesar Romero, Burgess Meredith, Eartha Kitt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you had a very good group of actors and actresses in on the series, and it was rare to see Burgess Meredith before he was Mickey in the Rocky movies. It was rare to see Cesar Romero, and I actually saw. Hold on, Sinclair, give me a minute. And it was rare to see Cesar Romero if you remember seeing the original Ocean's 11 movie. Eartha Kitt also had a very well-known following, and I think that was one of the first times I remember seeing her ever do Batman when I watched the repeats. But I remember seeing a few things of her before and after. So it was like when you realized the individuals that was on the Batman series from the 60s, and then you see them doing these other characters. And Burgess Meredith even did voiceover roles too, because I remember he did the voice of one of the characters in the G.I. Joe movie, the animated movie. It was like, these individuals are well accomplished. You got to give them a lot of credit. But when Tim Burton took over, when Tim Burton was picked to do Batman in '89, that was a total game changer. And definitely, I think what also helped the movie was the fact that Prince did the soundtrack. And that was right after he ended things with the Revolution and before he started New Power Generation.
Yeah.
There are a lot of factors there between Disney and all that stuff. That like you said, you had the original Batman show with what was it called? The actor Adam West, I believe it was. And I remember growing up watching this in the Greece. Pow wow! It was a good suit. It lasted for a while, if you remember.
Well, no, it only lasted 2 years.
Was it 2 years? I thought it was more than that.
66 to 67, 68. And then, but it's like Star Trek. It got big in syndication. So, and then it's interesting. Those two, Star Trek, the original series, Batman, they were basically out at the same time. They had relatively short runs.
Yep.
And they blew up in syndication. and that's kind of how it all came together. So it's just
Did the original Batman series come on CBS as well?
I think Batman was on ABC.
Okay.
So again, it's been a sort of a passing of the passing of the what's this? And one of the favorite, or just what the shades. Can you go to that last comment from Braxton? DC's problem is themselves.
As much as
Marvel shoves garbage, they have a
hot hand.
I don't agree with that.
I didn't see Craven. I didn't see.
I saw it. I didn't think it was that good either. And really, that film came out years. I think they shelved it because of the pandemic. Everything. It came out like 2 years after it was completed. But no, I didn't think that Craven was better than
that is true, Braxton. I have to agree. I mean,
but the idea though is, like I said, where they are right now. I mean, DC is trying to rediscover themselves, like you said earlier. They did do good with the TV series Smallville.
Yes,
went for a ton of seasons.
10 seasons, and you saw it slowly build from.
And you also have Gotham on top of that.
Oh, yes. Gotham was.
Yeah. So I want to bring this hot comment up here. And towards the end, he says here, DC's problem, he is thinking they need to compete with Marvel. And I think that is a good thing when you talk about it. I think that's one of their problems.
They don't.
Yeah. I agree with you.
They're always trying to compete with them, because that's why the Justice League, I think it was so rushed and it wasn't the full Snydesville image, because they just wanted to get it out there and start pushing movies out. Like, damn, we're falling behind. Let's go.
And that was
they're going
the
overdrive.
thing DC has to worry about. Yes, okay, you do have some fans that are just DC and could care less about Marvel, and you do have some fans that all about Marvel and could care less about DC. But you do have fans that care about both Marvel and DC.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no need for them to rush a lot of stuff in any way, shape, or form. One thing I will give Marvel credit for is they always found a way to have their movies tie in together with their TV series as well.
Yeah.
For example,
Netflix.
Yeah. Not just that.
Daredevil.
Yes. Not just that, but also
Luke Cage, Jessica Jones.
Yep.
Iron Fist was poorly done, but at the same time, they still talk about events that still that happened around that time.
Mhm.
But they do that. They did that with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series. What happened after?
Yep.
Did that with Miss Marvel. They did that with Moon Knight. Well, with Moon Knight,
yep.
the only problem is Moon Knight was supposed to be in New York. And I know somebody told me they had a problem with that because he is a New Yorker more so. It's just that they tied his powers mostly in Egypt, wherever he was at, or in Cairo. So he was like over there.
Exactly. Because if you remember in Winter Soldier, when they found out about what was going on with S.H.I.E.L.D., remember
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Say again?
No, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. tied that in the season.
No, not the series. In the movie Winter Soldier, when Black Widow, Falcon, and Captain America, Jackson Sitwell, when they interrogate him, how far does this go? Remember when he mentioned the reporter in Cairo? That's Moon Knight.
That was Moon Knight, yeah. The valedictorian, I don't know who the valedictorian was, but he mentioned Bruce Banner, Stephen Strange, anybody who's the third. So yeah. So like they tie things in, you just gotta go back and like normally go back and hear those things and it makes sense.
And
they tie it, and they do a good job tying everything in. And because Luke Cage said it, they said like, the incident when Cottonmouth had all the weapons and stuff. He said, is that from the incident? Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they use the technology from that to create guns and things which tied into Spider-Man's story.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what I'm saying? So they did a good job of like tying in everything. I think what it is. With and also I want to speak on Smallville when we guys brought up Smallville, because I'm the biggest fan of that series and I grew up watching it around high school and things like that. Smallville was a 10-year origin story.
Yes.
Literally. Like I tell people, I said for those years he was Clark Kent but he slowly became Superman. But he was still Clark, the person that mattered. And no matter, and I tell people this, because I tell people says because you gotta remember Smallville works in 3 different dynamics. There's Clark Kent,
Yep.
there's Superman, and then there's Kal-El, who he really is.
Yes.
And for 10 seasons, no matter how much Clark fucked up or what his shortcoming Superman was, he was still Kal-El. So like they did it. So they did a good job of building that up, and also because remember Superman. They did this whole origin saying like I never always felt like Superman always feels like the person who doesn't feel like he interacts well with society. He wanted a normal life, particularly he wanted to be normal like everybody else.
Right.
He has the be farm. I'm not saying it's wrong for him to be a farm boy, but he has the he was like how Lex portrayed it. Like, oh yeah, by the way, that was probably the best Lex Luthor. Michael Rosenbaum is the best Lex Luthor I think I've ever seen ever. And I love that their rivalry or like hey starts off with them being friends. I personally love that.
That's what I definitely like
because that's really what led to what happens later on and things of that nature. Because he even said like no, he said. He said, and in fact, when we first met, he said, you actually inspired me. All I wanted was to be your friend, and you turned your back on me. Literally. And so so they did a good job building up that Lex Luthor Superman dynamic, in my opinion. And then when the final season comes where he understands oh I know who we both are now, so there's no need hiding who we are now. Yeah. So so they do a good job of so like I said, so the series did a good job building up characters. We had Arrow, we had Cyborg, which by the way, the Cyborg in that series, I forget his name, but he played the famous Jet Jackson. Like they had him play a Cyborg. I loved that because I'm like, I know who he is. I know who that actor is. He's from Disney, bro. They got one of them. They got one of those cats over there. They got they got not Flash, but they got Impulse on there. They got Alan Richardson was Aquaman on that series. So which I found kind of funny because you got both Aquaman and a Fast Furious movie. I found that very funny. They're the evil villains. That was hilarious. That was fucking hilarious, in my opinion. I'm like 2 Aquamans. That's hilarious. The same Aquaman, but no, it is true. But that series had a lot of fan base in it. Christopher Reeves was in there in the first 3 seasons. The prior the prior Superman for like his movies and things. So ain't nobody about to tell me that the motherfuckers didn't go in there with love and dedication because they did.
Yeah,
they did. If you got Christopher Reeves in there the first 3 seasons, you're doing something right. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Also, back to what I think you mentioned. I think Peter mentioned it. Gotham. You saw Bruce Wayne grow to become Batman.
Yeah.
You saw him develop. You saw it piece by piece. And at the same time, you saw all the other characters start to develop. Catwoman, Penguin, Riddler, Joker. So Rogues Gallery, you saw the birth of the Rogues Gallery.
Right.
And the fact that you saw him go from this young kid who saw what happened to his parents to the end of the series where he becomes Batman, you saw it grow. You saw how Gordon got promoted within the rank and file GCPD.
Yeah.
From being this new lieutenant, from this new detective to becoming the commissioner. And that's the thing I give Warner Brothers credit for. They allow their characters to grow into becoming what we remember and what we know. You saw it develop. You saw it come into place. You saw it piece by piece. And that's why a lot of those shows did work. That's why Smallville was successful. That's why Gotham was successful. You saw the characters grow into who we all remember them to be.
You can say the same. I tell people this for go back to Marvel. We can go back to like Daredevil. Daredevil was like the first. And listen, I want to say something to everybody out here. My father watched when I first, and guys, I had a Wii U at this time. This was a while back. I actually had Netflix on that sucker. And guess what? My father saw me watching the first season of Daredevil when it was out at the time. I believe the episode came. I think all episodes were coming out at the time. We watched that whole series together, and he fucking enjoyed it. And Charlie Cox did a great job. To me, that man is Matt Murdock. He is Daredevil, and it's the same thing with Vincent D'Onofrio. He's Kingpin to me. He's Kingpin.
Oh wow,
he's old,
really? Yeah.
But like him taking somebody's body and bending it against and breaking it against the. Oh God. I was like, okay, they're getting into the like 90s cartoon Kingpin because only he could do stuff like that. I'm like, because I always said like you need to up that. Who's going to be the MCU? You need to amp up that cat's strength level, bro, because Spider-Man should be able to take him out. But like when he picking up people and bending them and stuff like that, like how he kills people with one shot. Even that boxing match show, like he killed that man. Like dude. And I'm like, bro, he's dead. So little things like that, like, and it just goes to show you how much Daredevil is beloved. Like he's gotten to that point where, like, all right, Charlie, if you do something else in a different show, you might have to be a British actor or some shit, like in the movie, because it's gonna take me a while to unsee Matt Murdock from you. But like how I can't unsee Chris Hemsworth being Thor.
Yeah.
So yeah,
like with Daredevil, one thing I did really respect and liked it. They didn't change the character to play a different person in the movie. They used the same one, and they did a great job of that. I gotta give Disney their flowers on that one and the props.
Yeah, they got to. Yeah, they pick creme de la creme actors. I'm not gonna lie, they do that.
Yeah,
because no one expected Chris Hemsworth to be this bulky freaking dude of Thor, and now to me he's Thor. I'm gonna keep it real.
Ironically, my wife told me the original actor that tried out that was supposed to be Thor was the guy that played Loki.
Oh yeah, Hiddleston. Yeah.
Tom Hiddleston actually auditioned to play Thor.
He auditioned to play Thor. Yeah,
and when they liked him as Loki, he was already bulked up to play Thor, so he had to cut a little weight. I think he already dyed his hair blonde too.
Yeah. There's a like I forget how long it is, but it's like a 30-second skit of him trying to lift the hammer and things like that. So yeah, I know about that. Yeah. So Marvel does do. I will be honest. Beginning, Marvel knew the people, the talent they were picking. RDJ, Chris Evans, who went from being freaking Human Torch to freaking Captain America. And guess what? He never gets any flack for it at all. And I do notice that because it was a smooth transition period for him. And then it's like, okay, I don't want anybody else to play Captain America, but this motherfucker, like he played our role good, too good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, it was the same thing for Anthony Mackie for me. When they introduced him as Falcon, I'm like, okay, now I can't see somebody else playing this motherfucker because he's playing like he's playing the military version of Falcon for me because he's a paratrooper and things like that. Like his outfit and everything, and his relationship with Cap, like they're both like veterans and war. And I'm like, only and let's keep it real, man. That was for the military dudes. Only military dudes get along like that, like who've actually seen war and shit. Like, that's why they get along.
That's the thing. That's the thing I liked about that dynamic between Chris Evans and Anthony Mackie. Were two guys who didn't know each other, but because they're veterans, they just click. And that really does happen. You'd be surprised because I'm a vet. Like some of the guys I've met here on YouTube that were veterans, we click automatically just because we were veterans. It's that one dynamic a lot of people will never understand. It's just one of those things. And you just saw that when you saw those two together. The one of the three Captain America movies, my favorite one's always going to be The Winter Soldier. And
of course.
I disagree.
What?
This is my reason why. Watch, okay? The chase scene when Steve saw what happened to Fury in his apartment, and he
runs out the building. Yeah, that's my favorite scene in the movie. That's one of my top 5 favorite films.
He jumps out that window, does the combat roll, throws the shield, and then Bucky turns around and catches it with the left arm, with the adamantium arm. Yeah. Everybody in the theater went crazy, like, what?
I was in the theaters when I saw that too, by the way. Yeah, so I know what you're talking about.
I saw theaters too, so I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It is literally one of my top movies. I gotta give you credit on that one. I just gravitate a little more of the first Avenger, the first Captain America.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
You're,
I
you're the
just
first person to ever say that. Actually, normally people go like, out of this trilogy, they go like Winter Soldier, because Winter Soldier is actually comparable to Dark Knight. Like it's that tier of a
no,
movie
I'm
film.
not disagreeing with
But
that.
yeah,
I agree 100%
yeah.
with the statements and everything. It's just a personal preference. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right. No,
And,
no, no. There's
and
nothing wrong with that.
as we're
I was
saying
just
about
surprised somebody
actors,
said that. I was like,
Yeah.
normally, no one, because no one never says that normally. And
oh
I'm
no,
not talking about, and I'm talking about what I constantly hear around when I hear that, because it's just normally Winter Soldier, Civil War, and then I'll go to like the first Cap movie normally.
Yeah.
Yeah, or sometimes I'll even get this, like, like who's your favorite first movie at the start of them? The first Iron Man, obviously, because that shit was fire. Because that shit was awesome. Like literally, like him building his own suit and then him flying out of his own mansion, going into space, almost freezing on contact, and then I just love this scene where he's
I
like
gotta
falling
say,
down. He was like, Jarvis. He's like, we
when
gotta break the ice.
these
No.
movies,
Yo, man.
hang on a
No,
second, Anton.
Okay.
I'm like, when these movies first came out, Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Captain America, First Avengers, and
Right.
Thor, it was exciting time to be a Marvel fan.
It
Because
was.
I
Marvel was
remember
cooking.
going to the theaters. I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this is coming out!" Avengers blew my mind when it first came out. I'm like, I
The
can't believe
first Avengers, yep.
Yeah, it caught
But
everybody
it
off guard.
also tells you Marvel did a great job picking the right actors. Also, like you said before, Chris Evans as Captain America.
Chris Evans.
If
Yeah.
I close my eyes and tell me who's a different actor, I'm not seeing anybody but Chris Evans. And
Yeah, because no one could play him after after Chris like settled into that role, he was pretty much him. And then because the thing is, you get like the old, because remember he played two different Captain Americas. He played the old school one that we got in his history piece, and then he played the new one that came out of the ice, like literally like after Fury like followed him out and things.
Yeah.
And Winter Soldier, like when he's taking out tanks and when he's taking out planes and people, like that's Captain America catching up with the knowledge of the world. Like I know all these martial arts now. Now I'm bad. So
Mhm.
yeah,
and
instead of just his judo, boxing, and kicking, he was doing in what he learned in the
Muay Thai and
military.
everything else. Yeah, the
Yeah.
fight scene on the ship.
as a
Second one.
combat person, I would definitely
Yeah.
tell you Winter Soldier. I will prefer having the Winter Soldier Captain America on my corner versus the World War II Captain America, because Captain
World War II, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because all he knows is like not simple tactics, but he doesn't know simply everything. He just knows military training and and what it was judo and kickboxing and things like that.
Yeah.
But when he comes out, normally out and knows about the world and goes out to train and things like that. Some of the Black Panther and all them other ones like Batman did. That he is, bro. He's a freaking machine. Like
Yeah.
no one can like really stop him.
Absolutely.
So,
I can't disagree.
and also he's a little bit more. I'll be honest, he has a little bit more edge to him because the way he was beating up the dudes in the elevator, bro.
Oh
They-
yeah.
Remember, they all had technology on them that could subdue him. And remember, they had numbers on him, and then he just took him out. No problem. So that's why I said the Winter Soldier is loved because of like it's bombastic like action scenes. And spy espionage is one of the big things they talk about it, like, and also a corrupt government leading onto a bigger plot at the end of the movie of what it does, especially what it does for Nick Fury's character, Black Widow's character, Cap's character, the beginning of Anthony Mackie's character of like the start of what he's doing for Cap. So yeah, so it helps and Becky.
Yeah.
So it helps. Those 5 characters are the stars of the movie for me.
See, with the Soldier, that scene in the elevator is my favorite scene. Them kicking everybody's butt. I'm not denying that one bit. It was one of the best.
They were all surrounding Cap, and Cap's literally in the middle. And he says, "Before we get started, does anybody want to get out?" Get out.
I was like,
When Avengers came out, it blew everybody's mind. They pulled it off. I don't know how they did it, but they were able to pull it off. Even to this day, people are wondering how the fuck did they do this?
and that wasn't easy.
No,
It was never easy. Like they had to get Hulk, they had to get Chris Hemsworth, they had to get Chris Evans, they had to get RDJ, Jeremy Renner, what's her name, Scarlett Johansson. They had to get all those characters.
And when I
Yeah,
heard
all of
Mark
them together.
Ruffalo was going to be playing the Hulk,
And
I was
Ruffalo, yeah.
Yeah, when they brought Mark Ruffalo on board, I was like, because everybody remembers first
Edward Norton.
Eric Banner Hulk, and then the Edward Norton Hulk, Incredible Hulk.
Edward Norton Hulk was what I wanted to see personally,
So-
because I liked his Hulk. It would look really cool.
But even
So-
still, they didn't do, or Marvel has not been able to do, is have a decent Hulk movie. I mean, 2003 was all right. In a lot
it
of
was
respects,
right.
I
It's
can
just
argue that I
Universal.
like the
Eric Bana
2003
was-
movie better than the Incredible Hulk movie. But to do
True.
Hulk by himself, no one's been able to pull that off yet.
All right, so
Well-
let me ask you this, Paul.
Go ahead.
Before Mark Ruffalo was picked to play the Hulk, which version did you prefer, Eric Bana or Edward Norton?
I just said so, Eric Bana.
Eric Bana?
I prefer that.
Wow.
The only thing about Eric Bana was I thought he was too big. Because again, he's a tall guy. He's like Banner's supposed to be a small kind of puny guy,
Wait a
right?
minute.
Puny Banner. Yeah.
What year did that Hulk movie come out?
2003.
2003. Yeah, I remember
That's
that.
Incredible
right,
Hulk came out in
because-
2008.
Okay, because the thing was,
Ooh,
Eric Bana,
okay.
I remember before he did Hulk, he was in Black Hawk Down. So he probably still had that frame when he filmed that movie.
Right. But I thought that it acted more like Hulk. I thought the fact that he had 3 Hulks, like the madder he got, the bigger he got.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't like the fight at the end with Absorbing Man. I didn't like how that went towards the end. But I thought they kept the spirit, and I thought the animation was he looked a little bit too much like Shrek in terms of just the animation. Now, but I thought the Incredible Hulk, I thought they went too far. They made him so
Abomination?
ripped. He was so ripped in the Incredible Hulk and whatnot. They didn't sell me on the realism there either. I
And
think.
when what's
But
his
do
name?
you guys know why Incredible Hulk failed so bad?
Not really.
Okay, so according to sources, what I read, the actor Edward Norton, whatever his name is,
Norton. Edward Norton.
he had control of his character, so he changed all this stuff on the fly. So it was to the point the director was getting so frustrated with me. He says, "I would never work with this actor ever again." That's how bad it was.
Wow.
So that's why we got the results what we got, because he said, "I'm not doing it till I get this. Oh, I do that, do this," and like it was just too much changing of the script on the fly. You
Yeah,
can't-
and I can understand people like that are difficult to work with
Yeah.
normally, but I like Norton's portrayal of Bruce Banner normally because because he was a guy that was on the run. He was far away from. He wasn't even in America. He was like in southern. He was like in Brazil.
He was in
Yeah.
Brazil.
So
I
like
thought
and that's the thing
Norton-
about Hulk. He constantly moves around. Like he's a wandering person by
A
himself.
lonely man.
Yeah.
According to
Like you said,
before they bought Disney bought Marvel, they said in public in a statement, it says the Hulk character as an individual movie has been cursed, and they're not touching that ever again, because every movie they made, it has bombed every single time.
Right.
But I know
What they can do is a Planet Hulk movie. I don't think they're above doing that because that has multiple characters in there, not just the Hulk. So
They
you
are
have to
working
have
on
him with
They
you
are
have to
They
have him with
haven't
other
been able
people.
to capture like a real live action Hulk. Like you to suspend even with the She-Hulk series on Netflix. Again, both of them didn't look to try to get you to convince you that this is a real person. It's hard.
Can't do that.
I mean, if you look at the Avengers, I mean, you look at the way they did it. Hulk wasn't out there like all the time.
No, he
But
wasn't.
you're gonna have him as the central character. Like you got every angle has to look right, and that's hard to do.
The
I mean,
closest
and
they
I
did
watched
to
the
that-
background on the 2003. They did a lot. I mean, at the time, it was revolutionary technology that they did to bring it to
Well-
life. They talk about the layers. Like they had like a vein layer, they had a muscle layer, they had a skin layer, they had a
course.
dirt layer. Like they moved the needle quite a bit, but the shots were too inconsistent from frame to frame.
Yeah, because
And
like
that's hard
I
to
said, this,
pull
I think my favorite version of Hulk, honestly, is like the Ragnarok version because that looked like actual Hulk to me, and he
Yeah.
was more savage. He was more of his character, like he was. The difference is he was like there is no Banner, there's only Hulk right now, and I'm like that's Hulk right there. But oh man, it was a specific character that you brought up that actually made sense to me when it came to whenever you got to have certain like things of Hulk. Oh yeah, the thing. So I'm pretty sure everybody saw the new Fantastic Four movie. How Thing looks, he looks comic book accurate. He has the freaking, he has the brow like rocks. He's built, and he's actually. And remember, Hulk is taller than him, but he's still 6 something. He's still like 6 foot or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, and just seeing like when when you see him hitting, moving around. And I actually liked the fact that he still has the shirts on. I thought that was funny. They were doing homage to Vision when they do that, because only Vision technically, he's a synthezoid, but he still has clothes on, can take on a human appearance and shit like that. Like they did that with they did that with the Thing in the Fantastic Four, the new Fantastic Four that they did that I actually liked. Like he's built, he's muscly, he's actually like this, but he's still dressed as like an actual New Yorker, like in the 60s where they were in.
It's a
So
60s era, like, but I
it
think
was the 60s Aries, yeah. That's what he was dressed up as.
But I think it's still modern times with the 1960s-esque vibe and technology.
Yeah, it looked like the Jetsons. That was the one thing I always said. It looked like the Jetsons movie, like literally like a future version of the Jetsons.
Right.
Because like how
And
the car
I think that's how they were able to pull it off.
Like all the colors are old school,
the
bro.
more real you try to make it, it's like the less your mind accepts it. It's a weird dynamic. The closer you try to get the photorealistic, they said the same thing with the I'm going way back. Y'all remember like the Thunderbirds?
Oh, Thunderbird. Yeah, I remember the Thunderbirds.
So there were several series by the Andersons. It was it was Stingray, I think, came before that, and Fireball XO5. The more as the technology got better, they made the characters more realistic. The heads got smaller, for example, because they were able to, with technology, they were able to make them seem more realistic. But it threw you off because it's like, am I looking at something real, or I'm looking at something fake? When it was more almost like in a comic book or animated kind of space, you just bought it better as far as a just what you were perceiving. So yeah, but it's hard to to be really frightened. For example, like a Hulk when he's like savage, you should be scared. But I've never seen. In fact, it's weird. The only character that ever scared me in a movie, ever, was Clubber Lang from Rocky 3.
Wow.
The opening scene with Eye the Tiger, and he knocks the guy out of the ring. And he's like, "I want Balboa. I want Balboa." And the screen, like, it zooms in on him, so he's massive.
And Mickey sees him, and he's like,
he's got this mohawk. Like, how many brothers wearing these mohawks and stuff? And I was like, this is the baddest dude I've ever seen him on ever.
And then, ironically, Mickey's looking at him like,
this guy's
this guy's.
And the crazy thing about it, he's shorter than Stallone. Like Mr. T is like 5'9". He's not even a big guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But
I actually would say Rocky 2. I mean, not Rocky 2. What's his name? Because the other character he plays, because I've always said this. I think Rocky is a more complete character. Rambo is a more interesting character. Rambo 2 and 3. I'm scared of that Rambo. That motherfucker blew somebody up in the smoke, but with an arrow. I was like, all right, I don't know what the rest. You remember that?
We're getting.
He literally has these arrows that can like turn you into smoke.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
We're into the show. Let's get our final thoughts. And Tony, you want to go first, Paul second, and Jay, you're third.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Oh wow. Oh man, just thinking about Marvel and DC. And I hope both of them are listening. Y'all don't need to compete against each other. You got fans that appreciate both of y'all work. I'm one of them. Like I said before, when it comes to live action, I give to Marvel. Animated, I give to DC. And the one thing I like about what both are doing, they're giving the other characters that you often forget about, and they're giving them an opportunity to shine. I guarantee a lot of people never heard of Moon Knight until they saw the Disney Plus series. And I know most people probably never really get play to Mr. Terrific until you saw, of course, if you watch ever Justice League Unlimited or when you saw that Justice League movie DC made, the live action one DC made. My thing is, I'm a fan of both. They have, you got a multitude of characters, which means you have a multitude of stories, and you can find a way to make it work. Now, I guess you have some people that want to stay with the quote unquote authenticity, and then you have some who will want to try to do something a little bit different. And now, what both sides are doing, whether it's Infinite Earths with DC, on the multiverse with Marvel, that gives both of them a little bit of room to change certain characters that we're familiar with and maybe give a better or a new storyline for characters we never heard of and often overlooked. And I actually looking forward to it, because it shows how do they make certain characters similar to one another in different dimensions, and how they make the characters completely different in other dimensions. We got to have another talk like this, because I feel like there was a lot more I wanted to mention, and I didn't. And that's all I got to say. I know some words we're thinking about.
Well, it's interesting. I haven't seen, I think, in my life a lot of like more. It's not like the Yankees versus the Red Sox. You know what I mean? Or Coke versus Pepsi or something like that. I haven't seen the smoke that says Marvel's better or DC's better, or you have your camps or whatever. I think certainly if you enjoy superheroes or comics or whatever, I mean, you may have your favorites, and that can go across properties or what have you. I don't know if there's like a legit Marvel versus DC beef like the Crips and the Bloods or whatever. I don't think it's that kind of haterade going on. But I think they've had their runs, they've had their eras. Like I said, I think DC dominated probably the first 50 years of media, because superheroes, I think, came out in the 30s. And again, early on, you had, again, Superman, the Batman serials, and then television and whatnot. So really through the 80s, and then, as was said earlier, Batman 89 really was one of the starts of, making it possible. And then Marvel came with Blade, and a lot of people don't give Blade a lot of credit, but that probably saved the MCU or saved Marvel, because the Blade movie did well. So I think that Marvel had their run, and again, I think they're struggling in the movie space a bit. Brave New World, the exception. Like I said, I'm one of the few who defends that movie. I love the movie from start to finish. But I don't know if this next phase we'll see what the Doom movie looks like. I think Fantastic Four. I thought the reviews were mixed on Fantastic Four. So we'll see what the Doom movie, how that does. I think a lot of people are obviously interested in it for the simple reason that Robert Downey Jr. is in it, and they're like, how are we going to pull this off, knowing that he was so iconic as Iron Man? How are we going to pull this off to make it, to make it work? I think people are going to be curious, but then Marvel's going to have to deliver. But as far as the comics, again, how they're written today, I couldn't tell you, because again, I'm not really reading like that anymore. But again, the classic era that I grew up in, it was very much DC, much more heroes and villains. The heroes were heroic. The Marvel characters, they were a bit darker. Even Batman, like I said, Batman, especially in the 70s, there was no dark Batmans that I remember reading or even watching. I mean, Batman was a relatively positive character, despite all the trauma from seeing your parents and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, Marvel's characters were definitely a bit more interesting, definitely a bit grittier. And I think people appreciated that. And again, as you get into the 90s and beyond, I think Marvel became, I think, more popular as an entity. And so I think that there's there it is. I mean, but I think certainly I want both of them to win. I don't think there should be a versus. I think, as Anton said, each one's going to be successful in their own lanes, and you're going to have your fans and whatnot who are going to come and patronize across the brands. Like I said, I don't think you have these hard, fast rivalries that say if you like Marvel, you can't like DC or vice versa. So, but good discussion tonight, and yeah, that's all I got.
Pretty much what Mr. Paul said. I want, like I said, I want both to win, in my opinion, because they both win, then we win because we get both good forms of media, in my opinion. Spider-Man: Brand New Day is coming out next month, and then we have Doomsday after that, and then we'll see where that goes. And then Spider-Man will come back in Secret Wars, which we're going to get the black suit, which is going to be cool to see that. But when it comes to like I said, I don't think it's really a versus, in my opinion. I just think both properties need to do what you need to commit to what they need to commit to. I think Marvel, even for their screw ups, I think Kevin Feige still exists. The Russo brothers still exist, but even they can't fix everything all the time. But they just had a stronger start, in my opinion. So I give them, so they have time to, like I said, with their reboot, to fix everything and get things right. For DC, they need to get their heads out of their asses. I'm sorry, I need to say that, but it's the truth. Or in this case, have take those batons that are stuck up their ass and let James Gunn and everybody who's in charge do their thing, so they can, give us good quality stuff. Like I said, who doesn't want the Supergirl movie to do well? Who doesn't freaking want to see like all these other movies that possibly come out that might be good? I'm just saying. With that being said, now y'all have a great night. I have to drive back home in about an hour and 30 minutes, my man. I'm just chilling for the next few hours so I can dip around like 12 o'clock. So with that being said, y'all have a great night, and thank you guys for always having me here. I appreciate this. I love these conversations, man. They're really awesome.
All right, I want to thank everybody coming up here. I also think there's a rivalry between DC and Marvel. It is a thing out there. I think it could be healthy if they take it seriously, not trying to compete each other. But obviously, we don't have that. But like I said, it's one of those things like, damn if you do, damn if you do. You know what I'm saying? So let's do a quick schedule and let's get the heck out of here. So tomorrow's show is moved for next week.
Correct.
We're scheduling conflict. We're off Friday and Saturday. We'll be back with a gray area. It's cancel culture. Me and Paul will be going over that. And on Monday, we will have a Spartan talk wrestling show. Me and Anton were brainstorming this last week, so we have some topics coming up. And on Tuesday, we're going over marriage versus cohabitation. I can't pronounce that goddamn word.
What is it called?
Cohabitation.
Cohabitation?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what he was saying. I was like, wait, what word is that?
Yeah, I can't pronounce.
Marriage versus cohabitation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Next Wednesday, we'll be going over the top most underrated Sunday morning cartoons. So I'm
Sunday morning or Saturday morning?
Saturday or Sunday, either way.
Okay.
So the most unrated for cartoons back in the day.
Oh wow!
The Incredibles.
Yeah, except that, guys. As always, I am the Spartan, my man Anton, the president, aka Mr. Bennett Paul, or the Bull President, and Jay. Really fast. You say? No. We're doing the Sunday morning cartoons, the underrated.
Underrated Sunday morning cartoons are cartoons that people tend to overlook, but were very good.
Exactly.
They were very good.
Yeah. As always, guys. Stay fresh, stay safe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Yeah, have a